Greetings, dear friends. I bring my mind and body together at the level of my heart, touching the capacity for compassion and wisdom within me and within you. How are you? Yeah, take a moment to feel your body, feel into the feeling, the thoughts, states of mind. Where am I? How do I experience this human life on this planet in the Milky Way galaxy in this moment? This morning when I woke up, it's still dark out, and I woke out into the fresh and moist, little cool morning air, and there's a crescent moon on the sky, and a number of stars were still visible. Wonderful. Getting perspective on our being, our manifestation as part of a intelligent cosmos, and with our own special conditions as human beings. And as I was out there, I could also hear the waterfall of our neighbor and people commuting to work, the cars on the large road in the distance. And so this sight and hearing, this sensing is our second nutriment of sense impressions. And I noticed I was just there. The senses were open, touching what was being offered in terms of sights and sounds, and touch through the air. In a moment when we perceive we're in touch with this contact, these sense impressions, what do we perceive? Do we create a story, a like or a dislike? Are we drawn to certain and want to avoid others? It's very natural. Just being aware of it is kind of fun. Where is my mind inspired? Where does it want to go? Where does my attention want to go? And what do I want to avoid? And actually, sometimes our attention goes to what we want to avoid. You know, another person might go out and have the same experience or being in the same context, but what do you experience? Hearing the sound of the cars. Could be, oh, it's already morning, people are on the work, I feel rushed, I have to go. Or it could be, oh, it's never quiet here. There's always cars in the background. This is the perception. It's not just the sound that we hear. This is our story, our reaction to the sense impression. In our urban technological environment, we have so many different sense impressions, sights and sounds and fragrance and so on, that we're not really used to, or at least this biological being hasn't evolved to really take that in and process it, all the information we're getting. It's easy to feel overloaded, overwhelmed, confused by if we follow information and information, but actually our clarity gets muddled and we become more and more confused. It's a pity. We have the capacity to see things as they are, to experience things as we are. In Buddhist psychology, there's a very helpful 5 universal mental formations that can help us to look into this, to investigate, not thinking, reasoning, but just being in touch. So it's contact. It has sense organs. I like to meditate and just breathe awareness into my eyes. Feel into the physicality of my eyes. And my ears. My nose. My tongue. And the skin. Allowing these sense organs to be recognized, appreciated, and maybe also help them relax. So for contact to happen, we need these sense organs. But also the sense impression, the sights and the sounds and smells and fragrance and touches. And the miracle happens when the meet organ and the object meets, and there's seeing, there's hearing, consciousness of the 5 senses arise. It's easy to think what we see and hear as the truth, as reality, because that's what we experience. So when we train ourselves to return to the breath, return to the body, to help feelings and thoughts, mental processes to calm and relax, to still. In those moments we can realize that actually what I experience and take for truth in my daily life might not be so. In our garden we have a couple of apple trees, old apple trees, and they haven't been so well taken care of, either nutrient wise or pruning wise, but they still have a lot of fruit this year. And I can zoom out and see the abundance that the apple tree offers. And I've been seeing the potential in the apple tree since we arrived this spring. So I cleared the grass around the trees and just trim out the worst things in the tree. Offering nutrients on the soil and making sure to water. And slowly, slowly flowers and fruits emerged. But because of my way of looking, I can see the fruits already. The potential of the fruit was already there. And now when they hang from the tree, what do I see? And we do have a lot of insects around. Some fruits are being eaten by wasps, some by little larvae, little insects. Some start molding before they ripen. And so I could zoom in and say, oh my God, we are losing all our fruits. And I can zoom into the fruits that are still good. To take care of all the apples from 4 apple trees is a big job. So in a way, I feel, oh wow, it's okay. We can offer some other fruits to the insects. That's fine. And some of them fall off the tree, half molded. It's okay. We'll put them into the ground, put them into the compost. And still seeing some of the ones that fall, some is still good. Picking some of the fruits from the tree, some are excellent, and some are okay. And so what we see and what we experience through our senses, we can also tell something about ourselves, where our attention goes. The second aspect is contact. If there's attention, we bring attention to it, we become aware of what we're taking in. We're taking in sensual impressions all day and all night in all kinds of ways that we're not aware of. And it affects our consciousness. And thus affects our body, our mind. And so to bring our attention to what we bring in, that's where we have a choice. Of course, we can choose to put ourselves in certain situations, to turn off cell phones and Wi-Fi at nighttime. I've noticed more and more there's a kind of a vibe of intensity that is created when you have those signals actually like brought in and signaling in your living space. Kind of turn that off. So we can also consciously, when we're aware of what we're taking in and how it affects us, to choose to close some other sense doors or choose to open. And we're here. When I train as a monk, we have many verses and gathas and daily practices that help us to not just be caught up in the emotions of the majority and just the habits of our mind, but to train our mind to look into and understand our mind, how things come to be. And one is when we go out into the world, we look straight ahead, walking mindfully. The body can be relaxed, taking steps slowly or fast, that's fine. But the eyes doesn't have to just wander around. We know what we see. There's attention in our eyes. And when I'm aware of my body, the way I'm moving, there's also much more awareness in my senses. Long time ago when I lived in the city and so on, I could notice that when there was a sudden loud sound or something, kind of a shock wave or something that I sensed, it was also startled. They create ripples. It's not just the sensory input, but it's my response to it. So when there's contact and there's attention, there's also feeling. Yeah. And it's wonderful to hear an ambulance without feeling, oh, the sirens, or hearing a sudden loud sound. It's natural to be attentive when we hear these sounds. That's fine. Moving out of the way for the emergency vehicle, of course. But what is extra? What is added? Because that becomes a nutrient for our whole system. And what we put attention to, what we nourish, will grow. So I've inherited a habit from my dad sometimes to bump into things. Maybe it has partly to do with height, so his situation was even more challenging, being 2 or 3 inches taller than me. And I'm 6'1", so not super tall, but taller than many. And sometimes I bounce into things, I hit things with my head or my toe. And for my dad, it was a strong habit. He got angry at the thing he hit his head on or he stubbed his toe at. Interesting. Like the leg on the counter in the kitchen. It's like, what? Or the lamp hanging from the ceiling. And I understood later that that was the one area where my dad either felt comfortable or felt permission to let his frustration, his anger come out. I see from the actual contact to the feeling is like it doesn't seem to match. It's like what happened? So there's not just this stabbing stubbing of the toe or hitting of the head. There's something else in process. So this is very interesting to see what happened in your mind while the feelings are activated in certain things, certain situations with certain impressions. And what I noticed over time is that I could transform that for both of us because I had a lesser tendency to get finding like the fault in the object and reacting to it. It's kind of silly, right? But we do these things. And now it's like, oh, okay. I bounce my head. These apple trees too, they have some branches. I have to be really cautious and kind of bend down to come under them and not when I'm going around the garden or watering or something bounce into my head. And so I'm very happy these days because I notice that what happens if I do uh, touch the branch or walk into it, my immediate response is just like this. Stopping, feeling into the sensations in my head, my skull. There's like, how's the brain in there? And with this kind, gentle touch, it could, because it is a bit of a shock if you bounce your head. You're startled, right? That's good. You're alive. And when I can allow that to relax and calm, seeing if there's any resentment towards the branch, Or if I could just be, oh, okay, sorry, branch. I know you're there, but sometimes I'm moving too fast or I'm looking at the ground, so I'm not really aware of you. I have a hat on. All these reasons, conditions that bring this situation about is not my fault. It's not the tree's fault. It happens. And how's my response to it? And so there's a perception of me and the branch and the touch. Oh, oh my God, I had a concussion years ago, and one of my Oriental medical doctors and healer, she said that it was the initial kind of a bounce or impact on my head that was the triggering cause of the cancer I've been dealing with for 3 years. I remember this time when I was swimming backwards in the pool and bounced my head. But like I was taught when I was young, I stopped, I put my hand on it, I kind of went into the cool water. I didn't feel nauseous, I didn't feel like wobbly, or I didn't have any headache afterwards. I thought it was fine. And maybe a year or so after, I had an incident with our solar panels in Deer Park, washing them and walking underneath. And the same thing. And I thought, that's fine. It seemed to like be okay. And maybe something got triggered and damaged. So it's to be careful and cautious with ourselves for sure. Not just take, it's just touch. We can we can go into these extremes. There's this wonderful story about a disciple coming to his Zen master. Tai tells about this in his commentaries to the Heart Sutra, the insight that brings us to the other shore. Because we can get caught in the extreme of annihilation, of nothingness. And the student come and tell his master, I've been reciting the Heart Sutra, I've been practicing the Heart Sutra. And so the master asks, so what do you find out? What's your insight on this? And the disciples say, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body or mind. And instantly the Zen master grabs his nose and pinch it, pull it. And the disciple said, ouch, that hurt. And the Zen master responded, I thought you just said you don't have a nose. There's no nose. Because he sensed the student had been going to this extreme. We can go to the extreme. My nose is here, is real, is mine. It has its self entity. And that's the other extreme. Right? So our sense impression is a wonderful area to explore the interconnectedness of things, the interbeing, how things arise together. So the sense object with the sense organ brings about consciousness. So the contact and the feeling, attention, feeling, perception, and then volition. How to respond to it? How do we act in response relating to this stimuli? Much of this is unconscious. This is a tricky aspect with this because we get so much information, we get tired or overwhelmed. So for myself, especially when I've been weakened and choosing monastic life for sure, is also that, well, I don't really want to be consuming all these sense impressions all the time, all the advertising. And it really nourishes, is want to trigger our greed, our desire, so much sexual appeal through advertising, wanting us to feel, some excitement, some thrill. Like, I want that. We have some idea that the object will satisfy us somehow. This is the ignorance with grasping, with desire. We think the object will satisfy us and that we will be maintained long. So if we have these things, whether it's a taste, it's a sound, smell, it's a touch, it's wonderful. We just want this kind of touch, we'll be happy forever. Or if we could just drink this kind of tea. I drank tea this morning and I have some wonderful, amazing tea that a friend gave me, and a little organization I'm getting sustainable tea from right now. But I also try to have like very simple, basic teas to drink, and seeing it's a different experience. I don't want to get caught in this kind of tea makes me feel wonderful. If I can only drink this tea, then I will be happy. That is giving our freedom, our strength away. And this is strong, 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 strong pull through our sense impressions in our modern society to give our strength, our power away. You know. So looking at our relationship with our phone. How do we use the phone? What is the benefit of it? And what is it made of? Can we see the different elements and hear the story the phone is telling us about these minerals, where they come from? When I came back to Sweden, I inherited my mom's old phone, and I've been able to keep it working pretty good, even though it was in a poor state when I found it. And it's very useful. So this is the middle way of seeing its usefulness, but also being aware of how it can easily become an extension of your body. Feeling like I always want to touch, get some affirmation from outside that someone is watching this. Of course, it's wonderful if you're watching it, it has a benefit. That's not why I do it. I do it because I like to. I want to also touch this energy in my own life and to share it with whoever happens to cross its path. But easy to see, wow, what's happening out there in the real world. We call the real world. And it's just a reflection of what's going on in our inner world. When I'm more calm, settled, and present, it's very easy to have few impressions, be in nature and have deep conversation with friends. And it feels very meaningful, fulfilling. When I'm more restless, there's some anxiety maybe from the past arising and making itself known, then it's easy. I want to have something more stimulating. I'm grasping for something, want to consume something to cover up. Are we using the sense impressions to cover up things? Or is it really to touch the beauty and the wonder of life? So when we watch a movie, we listen to music. What is happening in us? And this is coming back to Sweden too. I feel like my Christian heritage of kind of a Protestant background, even though secularized, is kind of in our DNA here. It's like very easy to go to guilt and shame. I've done something wrong. There's something wrong with me. And so I've had a chance to go deeper still into that, being back in Sweden. And so I've been able to, I'm watching a movie and I'm seeing as much as I can how it enters, how I engage with it, and also what feelings is touched in me, my perception of the world, and what do I want to do. Sometimes I feel, oof, oh, heavy and burdened by it. Sometimes, even if it's a difficult story, it's like, wow, so heart opened, or an inspiring story. It's like, wow, stoked of wanting to do something beautiful and important with my life. So it communicates something. And so, not seeing it as good or bad, but seeing what draws my attention, and how does that relate to me? How does that meet me where I'm at? And then we can choose to close our doors on certain things and choose, oh, actually, I'm not going to look at any violent movies. I'm not going to look at anything where there's hatred in it, or where the people are full of desire. So we can fast from different things. It's kind of a selective watering that we do through the way we take in information. So my Dharma name is Chanfa Po, means true protector of the Dharma. One of the aspects of protection is also to nurture and support, but is that of our attention, our awareness is like the guard in the castle, being aware of all the doors of the castle, to see whoever comes and goes, the guard knows. And so in this we can guard our senses with our attention, with our awareness. And also, how does it, maybe there's some guests coming into the castle and then making havoc. Maybe the guard will ask them to leave. And internally we kind of take care and embrace, so that things can calm and we can see the beauty and the potential of even the most rowdy guest. But also, what we nourish will grow. So what do we take in? How does that affect us in the short and the medium and the long term? Just feel into that. Is there any sense impressions of sights and sounds, smells, taste or touch that you want to bring in more in your life? Some that you feel like actually is not so helpful. Can I bring more awareness to that situation? Or can I kind of close the door a little bit on that? Not to always have that door open. This is the choice where to put our attention, what to allow in. Is a gift to ourselves. And also, you know, I see a collective awakening happening, is a continuum, is an evolution of our consciousness, a new earth manifesting moment by moment, person by person, and that we're not separate on this little planet. We're part of the cosmos. Living as a monk in the community for almost 18 years, I was training with that too, to first be a citizen of the world, then transnational. I encourage us not to be caught in a nationality and an idea. It's not to run away from it, to ignore it, but not to limit ourselves saying, I'm just Swedish. I was talking with a person at a birthday party the other day, a friend of one of my oldest friends in Sweden, and I told her that it's wonderful to be in Sweden. I feel strong in my body. It feels so natural. Like I know the the land, the climate, the culture, the language, and I'm not limited to that. I'm also partly French, American, Vietnamese. And I got an influences. Without the trips to India, I wouldn't be here. You know. So this of being a global citizen, and for a while, I thought, okay, I want to see myself as an Earthling, but that's also kind of limited to the realms of the mineral, the plants, animals, and the humans on this planet, which is great. That's part of my reality, and some of the spiritual and the energies that I experience, and many experience, you cannot limit it to that. It's not the earth as a self-sufficient place that's not connected to the cosmos and other intelligent beings. So that of opening, zooming out, and seeing peripheral vision, it helped me a lot. Also, actually, with the eyes and the hearing, if you easily get startled by loud sounds or feel like, oh, and just kind of hear the silence around, see the space around the shapes, not just focusing in on the shapes, gives a lot of peace and relaxation to the senses and consciousness. It's wonderful. And instead of just seeing my idea, my projection on something, it can help me to start seeing things in themselves, to touch what is real, what is true. So thanks for spending some time together, and may you be happy, may you be well, may you be safe and free of injury, may your body and mind be light